Recorded live.
Welcome, everyone. This is Barbara Sadler, author of the MayanCross.com website, and it is Monday, July 1 on the Gregorian calendar, and today on the Mayan calendar is one road, or in the Quiche language, it's the letter E, but it's pronounced eh. And we'll be using the Quiche language as well as English this morning, or this day, as we talk about and connect even more deeply to this day sign. And we'll also be exploring the Mayan cross associated with the road or day sign. And this is the 9th call out of a series of 20 calls that we'll be doing throughout the year until I think it's late November, when we will have completed all 20 day signs, all 20 Trecenas, or 13-day periods, for this Mayan calendar, sacred Mayan calendar cycle. And we begin each call by lighting our candles and invoking the energy of the day, and thus creating a sacred virtual fire among us. Each call is recorded, and Jeff Grant, who is with us today, has been making YouTubes with really beautiful visuals that go along with the context of the call. So you can listen again, and there will be many, many people listening later to this call as well via YouTube. It's also available in the TalkShoe archives. So that is something that you can all access at later dates or on your own time frame as well. So we'll be working through these day signs over the next several months yet. The day signs are known as nawals, or the plural of that is nawales. And we'll be talking about the numerals and the Mayan cross, and we're using a variety of formats. Today we have 2 people with us that both carry this road or energy. We have Jeff Grant, who many of you have heard already on this call. He's been helping us technically. He is a road. He is a 10 road. And we also have Dave Frey, who is a Canadian living up in British Columbia, who is an 11 A. So we'll be talking with them to find out more deeply what this energy is all about and how we can be working with it in our own context as we work with the Mayan calendar. So let's begin. Let's begin by checking in about the last Trecena, the one that we transitioned from last night, which was the Trecena of Kawak, or storm. And I would just like to ask a question of all of you, if there's anything you'd like to share about your observations now that it's kind of behind us, even though we're probably still a little bit in transition mode. What did you see or realize or experience during this last 13-day Trecena? If anybody would like to raise their hand on this or chat in, feel free. The lines are open. Everyone is unmuted. So let's just do a little reflection on that before we invoke the energy of this morning. Don't be shy. People that are often in the wings have the most to contribute. So feel free to bring in whatever you noticed about this last Trecena.
Hey, Barbara, it's Dave. I've actually got a comment if I can open up the floor, and then if anybody else wants to jump in, they can feel free, even interrupt me if they want. For me, the last one, Storm, really, really tied in even to the previous one being transformation. And I noticed in the transformation and resurrection one that that's exactly what happened for me, was that everything that needed to go was kind of being let go, and all kinds of new things were manifesting. And I found that as soon as we got into storm, normally for this energy for me, it can be rather chaotic and intense, can shift things around, so get very stormy. And with this one, it was more of a storm of internal passion, if you will, so that from the transformation and resurrection into the storm, I didn't feel ill-equipped. I didn't feel like I was getting rained on or anything was overwhelming. It was more of a flow of power coming from the transformation and resurrection.
Nice. Nice to go from the flow then, from one Trecena to another, as well as one day to another.
Well, and then it feels good to be on the path starting today. Yeah.
Yeah, home base.
Yeah.
For you. Nice. Anyone else? I know I had to chuckle a couple of times, actually, just noticing the Noel Kawak at work upon us. I live in Chicago, and it was summer solstice, and the big strawberry moon, what was that, last weekend. Not this weekend, but the one before.
Yep.
And we've been having a tremendous amount of rain anyway, but we had two traditional Mayan fire ceremonies where Shuni and I were presiding. The fires didn't even get lit because the first one, actually on the solstice, was thunder and lightning, and everybody's kind of locked in about lightning hits, lightning strikes, because we've had some deaths around here due to people that got hit. So we, for the first time in 3 years, actually called to postpone the fire ceremony until the Sunday following, which was the actual night of the full moon. And all the forecasts are great for sunshine and beautiful weather, etc. And we had the most beautiful fire all ready to light, with flowers and incense and offerings galore. And just as we were getting ready to light, these big thunderheads rolled in, and it was torrential. And I was thinking, well, this will just blow right over, because we've never, here in the Midwest, even though we have tumultuous weather oftentimes, we've never really had to cancel the fire ceremonies. So I ran over and got this great big huge umbrella that goes over like a picnic table to protect the fire that we had built. And then someone ran out into the front to see that there were just more and more clouds and rain coming and coming. So we knew we had to do the work anyway. So we just covered everything and went inside, sopping wet. But we took the ceremony around the dining room table. We lit 4 candles, colored of the 4 directions, beautiful candles. And then just all of us took turns giving some personal explanation of each Noel, and we did the count. So the work did get done, come hell or high water, come Kawak or not. But, it's all necessary. Even though best laid plans, as Shuni always says, I go with a master plan. And that's really about all you can do. And do it with grace. Do it without furor or frustration or disappointment. So we have a comment from Vivian in Ohio with Kawak. A lot of insight, and then trying to step into power, then lots of old memories, leading to fear and unfinished business. Well, Vivian, that sounds to me like Kawak was working with you to help you get through, first of all, to continue to scrutinize what still needs to be unraveled. And I'm happy that you have the awareness to even make this statement, because as you know, there are so many people that, are so stuck in fear they couldn't even begin to understand what to do with it. So I honor you for sharing that. Wonder if there's anything else you'd like to add. And realize that that's what's going on for a whole lot of us, and that's why we gather in a community like this. Do we have to go into that old place is the question. And my answer is yes. But every time we go into that old place, we go into it with more awareness. So it's different every time we go there. And we're better able to process whatever experiences, emotions are associated with that place. But if we go into it with love, with heart, with compassion, and we ask that place what it needs from us in order to heal, and really be open to listening to that place, that, for me anyway, has been the key to releasing whatever is there and bringing it into the light. So it's not that, rabbit hole anymore. I do hope that helps. If anybody else would like to offer insight, because we know what you're talking about. We know that place too. We know those places, I should say. But there lies the gift. We just have to find it and open to it. Oh, and she writes back, oh, that's good. I want to give you a big hug right now. Everybody, give Vivian a nice hug. And Vivian, this next question, let's just you and I take that one offline so we can stay on topic here a little bit and work with the energy today to help find the answer to this question. So I'm feeling grounded. Let's invoke the energy of road. Find your spine and sit tall. Find your breath. And feel that breath just begin to soften all those jagged thought patterns and oftentimes the emotions that go along with those thought patterns. And feel the breath offer some clarity. With a lit candle, with the community that we have here and now. Gracias, ahau, for the Nawal E. The heart of the heavens, the heart of the earth, the heart of the winds, the heart of the water, the hearts of our ancestors, the hearts of all sacred places in the world, in the universe. Be with us here and now. Help us create the pathway for our greatest growth and for the highest good of all humanity and all that is. Thank you, for allowing us to step on to the path, honoring those paths that are sacred, that are secret, personal, within us, those roads that have already been taken, the road that may feel very crooked and gnarly at times. We ask to show us the way, to illumine the path, to make the path what the Maya call the sakbe, the sacred path, the white road, the road that is white so that it can be illumined and seen very well at night for night-bound travel as well as during the day. We ask you, that our feet and our shoes take us safely back home deep inside our hearts. We know that every good road has a coming and a going. We know that our own feet, as Bob Marley says, are our own carriage. So we thank you, for your guidance. We thank you for being so that we always know, not just believe or not just have faith, but we know that the path is ours and that you illumine it for us. Take a moment to feel that in your heart. Travel through your bodies to your hands and to your feet. And see this Nawal. The glyph up in the upper right-hand corner has like a few little stepping stones. And it looks a little bit like an ear, meaning that we listen to A. We take direction from A as we walk on the path. And the Nawal comes from the direction of the south, where the color is yellow, which is that color and symbol of water, maternity, birth, the milpa, the garden that feeds us and the whole family, the whole community. And ultimately, that rich ripeness that comes of the fruits and the vegetables from the garden. Wow. Thank you all. Thank you all for your reverence. Thank you all for your abilities and willingness to come together like this and to feel the richness that these Nawales and this system has to offer us. And I'm so thrilled, so honored to have Dave and Jeff with us today, the two roadies that stepped forward and wanted to share their experience of what it means to be a road. I've heard a little bit of both of their stories, and they're fascinating enough for me to just say, I surrender to you guys to offer up anything biographically, anything you choose about your experiences as roadies. And, I guess to start, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you work with the calendar and what kind of meaning it has for you to work with a calendar, and then, ultimately what it means to you to be a road person. So whoever likes to go first, if you want to chat back and forth, however you'd like to go, please do.
Well, thank you, Barbara. It's Dave here, and I just want to say it's an honor to be here as well. Thank you very much for inviting myself and Jeff. I'm sure you feel the same way. Thanks for inviting us to be part of this. It is an honor. For myself, my I guess experience with the calendar started in late 2009, and it started through just some reading that I was doing that caught my attention. I was reading one of Kalaman's books, and at the same time also reading one of Jose Arguelles' books, and just did some comparing of the two calendar systems because they were slightly different and needed to know more information. So I contacted them both directly and said, hey, what's going on, guys? Got a beautiful response back from Carl Kalaman the next morning, actually, and that kind of furthered my development and growth and led me in some new directions. And then he had put me in touch with Joseph Giovi. I don't know if anybody on the call is familiar with who he is, but he does Sacred Journeys down in Guatemala, works very closely with the Mayan elders. And so then I kind of got in touch with him and the community, and have been, had my life changed, for lack of a better way of putting it, in a very short amount of time by just synchronizing my life with these energies and checking in every morning and just seeing what the day's all about. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a heads up, too, as to what's ahead. Like, oh, it's going to be a challenging day. Oh, it's going to be a great day. Oh, I can, expect things to go either way today. It'll definitely give you some insight, I find, into what's around the corner and what's right in front of you.
Mhm.
Yeah, very similar.
Once you go to Guatemala to be with the elders, you actually live the calendar. I mean, it's much easier to do it there, at least to be initiated there, than it is here, though it's not impossible to do it here. But the main thing is being in touch with it every day, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would agree with that. I was saying that's actually kind of one of the best values I get out of it, is that in my whole life I've been inclined towards some kind of path, higher truth, looking for it. So you seek out systems, whether it's, your basic horoscope or something like that. I've always been into that and wanting to get into exploring those types of ideas, and I think it's a great system with a ton of truth to it, because you see it everywhere in your daily life if you start paying attention to it. It's, just having the calendrical system, having the days mapped out, starting to be aware of different energies and different ways that people experience those energies. When you make them your own in your own life, that's when the magic starts. That's when you really do start to see the enchantment to it all, and that's what serves as the anchor to that richer experience. Whereas opposed to so many things, for example, in the Western world, get you to project out of the now and plan for some contingency or something else down the road, rather than just being in the moment and being better in the moment.
Well said.
And I've personally been working with it since, I guess, 2005, 2006 or so, and on a very, very similar level with David's experience, almost identical in certain ways. As I got into it and recognized the value of it, I wanted to give back. And the approach, I right away thought, wow, contact him and give what you got. You're into your technical career and all that, and so you could provide help in these ways. And David actually did the exact same thing. We were talking about this in our introduction, and it's just remarkable. And it kind of what the calendar and the calendar system and that way of being inspires people to do, both at that level where we're both roads and so we can see similarities to what it inspired us to do, but then at other levels too. So it's pretty extraordinary, I think.
I'd like to add that I'm Tihash, and the road sign is in my right hand, my right arm, which is an indication that it's one of my strengths. And yet, before I put the Mayan Cross website together, it had been an idea of mine for at least 3 years. And just wasn't getting around to it. I was doing a lot of teaching one-on-one and personally in front of groups, but I hadn't really done much on the internet at all. And if it weren't for Jeff, who is the road, and his pretty consistent encouragement, and then it kind of grew to urging, yeah, we got to do this. Yeah, we got to get this done. It probably wouldn't have been built. So that kind of road energy, making it this a sustainable, accessible body of work, representative for the Maya, which benefits the Maya, it really may not have taken the shape that it did if it hadn't been for Jeff's encouragement and coaching. And this is a good time, Jeff, to officially, formally thank you so much.
Well, you're
and everybody who's benefiting from it, that in large part has to do with your vision as a road person.
And I'd like to thank you too, Jeff. Sorry to interrupt you, man. I'm going to let you talk, but I want to thank you too for the same reasons. Like the Mayan Cross site has been indispensable in my learning, and I use it quite a bit. And I know it's one of those things too for people who are new to this. There's a lot of information on the site, but it's one of the better sites where you can actually understand and figure out what's actually going on and how everything relates. So thank you very much, Jeff and Barbara.
You guys are all more than welcome, and DJ, you've really done 90% of it. I've just had some technical pieces of advice and helped make some good decisions, and even with that said, consider it a beta. There's going to be, I think, a lot of really great stuff down the road that can be done, so no pun intended.
Oh, a lot of it had to do with, in these moments of frustration and, uncertainty and the things that you go through whenever you're birthing a big project like this, which took months and months and hours. But you were always there as the one to, make sure I got through it. Emotionally and technically and everything else. So So let's talk a little bit. David and Jeff did not know each other until a few days ago. Can you guys describe what happened when you connected as two road people?
You want to take that, Dave?
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump on that one. It was really, really interesting because we got together to do an introduction. And the first kind of synchronicity that Jeff and I noticed was actually our birth times in hospitals. I believe you were born at 1:17 a.m., Jeff, and I was born at 1:17 p.m. So right off the bat when we were talking, we had this kind of instant bizarre connection that we both were like, okay, cool, that's awesome. And then from there, we actually, our first call, I think we went well over what we planned to, just because we were getting to know each other. And then Jeff and I even took it offline for another hour and a half, 2 hours, getting to know each other. And we really clicked. We have, like Jeff said earlier, a lot of similar stories and a lot of similar experiences, while completely, being individuals in our own right and having completely different functional skill sets. And so for me, it's been great. I like connecting with other people who are following the calendar for sure. But it's especially nice when you click with someone that you've never met before and you feel like you're old friends. Like Jeff and I have definitely been around the block before a time or two.
So are you affirming this soul group theory that I've been developing? because you're both roads, you're in the same soul group, and there is a special resonance that, given enough time and getting to know each other on as many different levels, you would realize that you've been in each other's lives in the past or potentially in the future.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'd affirm that for sure. You
And
can feel
it
it.
kind of feels that way. Yeah, it's a felt sense.
Yeah,
absolutely, right? Absolutely. And I'd add further to that again, when you start opening up to it, it gets stronger and stronger. The more you work with it, the more you look for it in your life, the more it kind of reveals itself to you on deeper levels. Because, I've seen it before and experienced it before, but not as strong as when Dave and I, got introduced to each other. It was really uncanny in certain ways.
So what does a road mean to you, Jeff? I mean, how do you relate to if you wouldn't mind sharing that?
Well, the road energy, I think, describes me extremely well. And being a person on the spiritual path, it is interesting because you can feel very alone because your path is so crooked. And it's the resonance with other people that takes that feeling away or reduces it. And it's being able to kind of put the pieces together and refine them over time to figure out how, whether it's a relationship or whatever else, or whatever type of relationship it is, how that's supposed to be or what it's supposed to be. I love that kind of work, and I love relating it to the higher level or higher level ways of understanding things. Could be as simple as looking at the bright side in any situation or anything like that. But it's an interesting energy, and I definitely see a lot of similarity to how the Maya classify it.
Do you have a sense? Did you have a sense before you knew you were a road that you were a thought leader or another word I like is way shower for others?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly having the death in the right hand or the strength. That the way you describe it is to say that energy encompasses mysteries of life and death and transformation. It's magnetizing for others. That is spot on. When I'm really centered, I am a tremendous magnet, especially when it's all positive. Or when you try to make things positive, people really have been drawn to me at those times in my life, and that's when I've thrived as a leader in those types of leadership roles most so. And so, I definitely see a lot of truth to that.
I just had an image come, Jeff. Most of you may not know that Jeff was my next-door neighbor when he was in high school. And he was a cross-country runner, right?
Yeah.
And that's my image. You used to bolt out of your house and start running. And he's got, he's very tall, long legs, long body. And he would just take off. And you can just
That's awesome.
feel the path that he was creating as he started running.
Well, that is core.
That just came to me. Huh?
That's a core aspect, I would say, to my life. The distance running, my sense of discipline and work ethic was really developed from that. Coming from my father and wanting to make him proud or whatever, and getting into running and distance running, it's got to be a little crazy to run 6 to 10 miles a day every day with little to no off season. And but that kind of intensity and passion is, I think, what develops into a rich life, if lived well. So, I definitely, those are fun memories.
Well, and it seemed that you did so with such little effort. It was just like, this is what you do. I mean, this is me.
Yeah.
This, created the path.
Yeah. But that comes down to energy too, though. I mean, it was my parents and teachers, and everybody knew I had an abnormal amount of energy compared to a lot of people my age, and it was just on the wall at times, and so it was real good to go out and run and get out in the outdoors. And there was a lot of internal development that happened in those miles and hours and years that went by. Because even when you're listening to background music, you're still doing a lot of thinking. And when you are actually running for a full hour every day, there's just a lot that goes on in terms of internal processing and development.
Mm-hmm. You still run?
Yeah, I'm about 6 blocks from Gold's Gym on the water in Redundant Beach, and so I jog down to it as a warm-up and warm-down. Mm-hmm. So it's a light jogging, not much, but, I ran a lot when I was young.
Yeah, right. Cool. So that's just a beautiful image. How about you, Dave? I mean, how do you relate to being a road? How does that manifest in your life?
Jeff described it beautifully. I find that for myself, it was the same thing. There was always a magnetism. I found people were really drawn to me, whether I was positive or negative. Like when I didn't really understand my sign yet. Really all I noticed was that, I always had a lot of friends and people who wanted to be around me, and whether I was interested or not, they were there. And later in life I kind of learned what that was, and that I wanted to surround myself with not just people who wanted to be there, but people who actually mattered to me and would symbiotically assist my growth while I assisted theirs. I find those are the best relationships for me, people who want to learn and people who want to grow. Yeah, I've always kind of felt like I had to get somewhere. That's always been at my core. And I think always will every time I reach a goal or obtain a dream or even get to a destination while traveling, my immediate thought is, okay, now what? What's the next journey? And, sometimes, I've taken some incredible journeys in my life from start to finish, like years and years, and sometimes it amazes me that a journey will stop and you'll be like, yeah, what's next? Like you don't even bother to stop and be like, I'm just going to chillax here in this nice field and calm down. You literally see another road or another path and you're like, yep, that one.
Mhm. Mhm. Are you kind of like a multicultural on a multicultural spiritual path? Do you bring in a lot of different cultures or traditions?
Definitely. I basically have stripped all the core beliefs and philosophies from many different religions and organizations and spiritual gurus as I can, and kind of pulled always what works for me and left the rest. Part of learning and growing for me has been actually a lot of not listening. I find as soon as somebody tells me I have to believe something or I should do something this way, that's a major, almost like directional marker on my road. It's like a big sign. Nope, don't do that.
Make a turn.
Yeah, exactly. So there's something beautiful in all religions and all spiritual philosophies, I find. But there can also be some serious twisting of those philosophies. So, I'd like to remind everybody to, keep learning and keep looking for what speaks to you, because that's your truth. Bottom line, nobody can tell you differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, you both have net or kat as your conception energy. And conception energy is thought to be karmic, pulling in those strands or those bats from your ancestors, from past lives, from, the other world. So do you feel, Dave, like you got caught up in the net in your earlier years? Or how do you relate to that net energy as your karmic inheritance?
It's definitely something that karmic inheritance is a perfect way to explain it. It's something that you're pulling with you from journey to journey, and until you're ready to deal with it, nothing's actually going to happen. And I carried it a lot longer, I feel, than my childhood. I carried a lot of this stuff into my adult life until I started using the Mayan calendar, because I didn't know what it was necessarily. My first kind of major experience with my ancestors, again, was in Guatemala. We had done a very beautiful fire ceremony, and we're just kind of sitting around exchanging experiences, and then did a meditation and headed off to bed. And in the dream time, literally, this was one of the most peaceful dreams I'd ever had. But it was me walking, funnily enough, down a pathway, down a road with all of my ancestors. And there was people there who I had no idea who they were, who knew who I was. And literally the entire night while I was in that dream state, it was me walking and sharing, without actually speaking, information with my ancestors. And I got through a lot of hang-ups or walls, things that I had imposed on myself for this life, just from that, because I very quickly realized, I'm like, okay, some of the things that I'm using as blocks or excuses or are actually keeping me from seeing just what's over the fence over there, and that looks pretty good. So for me, it probably carried on into my early 30s before I really was able to understand how that energy tied into my life. And now, you know, like you say, it's an ancestor tie. So it's really a chance for me to connect with my ancestors. And I recently lost, I guess not recently anymore, a year and a half ago, I lost my grandfather, who was like a father to me. And so,
that's recent.
You know, I do a lot of reconnecting with him, and I do a lot of direct communication with him, and I feel that it's you know, part of this being part of my cross is part of the reason why I can communicate so easily. In my experience, not everybody can do it, so it is a blessing, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yes, because Kame, or death, is on your right hand. So that is an indication that you have the gift. It is one of your strengths to be able to connect with the ancestors and learn and commune and use their guidance in ways that maybe a lot of other people, you know, would not be aware of.
Yeah, so that's kind of
interesting. It was quite terrifying initially because it was a lot of information that I didn't necessarily feel I was asking for. Because the ancestors are like, here you go, Dave. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, am I hearing this? How is this? Like, you know, so it takes some training and some getting used to actually understand sometimes even the context, the way things will come at you. But, yeah, I just love the calendar so much. I'm sure I'm biased because I've been doing it for quite some time, but the daily energies just resonate so strongly with every part of me.
You know, what you just said reminds me of well, I had an image that you've got like all your ancestors. I mean, there's probably dozens of them, right? That showed up on this path walking with you in your dream. And there's like this whole big cheering section out there that's waiting for you to notice them, waiting for you to pay attention and start communicating with them. And it's the kind of support system that you just, you know, you just don't get that really in the 3D, right? I mean, most of us don't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So, Jeff, how do you work with net as your conception energy? Do you have impressions about that?
Well, it's interesting because coming from the perspective I have, I didn't really realize other people don't have this as much or do this as much or feel it as much. It makes perfect sense to me to have it described as net, as a form of energy in the Mayan calendar, but you know, my whole life I've noticed, you know, coincidences, if you call them that. I don't, but, you know, in terms of who's in my life, from a great aunt or uncle, what they did with their whole lives, how that fits in with me as a child or my childhood development. I was always one who believed in things or was very curious about things like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or UFOs or things like that. So, for example, my aunt worked at Los Alamos National Laboratory. She worked with the government and stuff like that and had experiences that opened me up and allowed the skeptical Western mind to kind of take a back seat and say there's probably something else here, because your great aunt isn't crazy and she's not, this or that. She's your great aunt. And I would always believe stories or other things that people would say, or books I would read. And so, I saw a lot of truth to that, and I still see a lot of truth to that. And to have a system articulate it is kind of cool. But I was already living it. I was already kind of engaging in that process. And so, I definitely think that makes a lot of sense, because I've always seen a lot of resonance in my life with the things or people or situations, and it's nice to kind of use your logical mind to put it all together, refine it over time, similar to the Mayan cross. The idea is a work in progress. It's being refined and worked on slowly but surely, and it develops and becomes richer and richer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like being open to casting the net and working with everything that you catch in the net as to bring it into the positive. That's wonderful.
Right. There's no byproduct.
Is your great aunt still alive?
Yes, she is. She's still lives in Roswell, right around Roswell, New Mexico. She used to be the curator for the UFO museum there, but is not anymore. So she's still doing her thing, and I still definitely keep in touch with her, and I still love those kinds of ideas and live that kind of life, and still refine all of my thoughts and feelings on it. And like I said, it's just one of the things that makes life richer as you open up and incorporate things and decide what works for you and what doesn't. There's definitely ideas and different systems or other things that I've tried out, and it worked for a time, or I thought it worked for a time, and then another time comes and it's time to let them go, or they get taken from you, quote unquote taken from you. One way or the other, you grow out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really think the Mayan cross would be one of those types of systems, but that I'll grow out of. I think it's just there's too much truth to the system.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do with Tihash on your left side? Tihash, the flint, the knife.
I call you a lot. That's one of the awesome. Is that. Honestly, man, I'm not even kidding. That's one of the things that's developed over the years, and seeing it is just remarkable, is the inverted, almost opposite, and how that can be an awesome friendship in your life, because it's the value of a sounding board. So you just go, here's what I'm feeling, here's what I'm experiencing, that's what they've got, and whether you're passing books back and forth or ideas or anything else, it's a great way to grow. And so that's how I'm glad it's my quote unquote weakness, whatever that means, and it's great to have somebody like you in my life where it's your strength. And so it's a real bond that develops.
Well, that's divine intervention. And Dave, how do you work with Tihash?
I'm married at Tihash, so I work as diligently and as light stepped as possible. No, I'm kidding. I feel very similar to Jeff. I did marry a Flint, and she's basically mirror image is a good way to put it. She's all my missing pieces, and she kind of feels the same way. And we sound ideas and different philosophies off of each other all the time. I'm actually learning about an entirely new system right now that she's found. It's called Enneagrams. So there's always, like Jeff says, something to kind of talk about or just have a good exchange of energy. And I mean, my wife and I find that we sit down, I don't know, I'd say at least an hour a day, if not more, sometimes 5 or 6 hours a day, just to kind of talk about what's happened and what's going on, and not the typical how was your day stuff, but like literally, I ran into this block today, and this is really bugging me, and I can't get past it. What do you think? And we do quite a lot of that back and forth, and I think it keeps us both really grounded. But we did not know our signs either when we came together, so we understood that we were each other's missing pieces, but we didn't understand from a Mayan energy perspective how well we were actually mirrored. So we started looking into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should tell the audience here, if they don't already know, that the Mayan cross for road and the Mayan cross for flint, there's 5 signs in the cross, and all but one of them is the same. They're in different locations, and, but they're all the same. The flint has a white vertical line and a gold horizontal, whereas the road has a gold vertical and a left and a horizontal that's white. So both of these signs are coming from the north. The flint comes from the north, and the road comes from the south. And so the color combinations are very much compatible. And then, to have that many, 4 out of 5 of the same energies is really significant. And when Dave said, the missing pieces, well, you are the same pieces, they're just in a different arrangement. So it's a really beautiful way to have things balanced out and to have all the bases covered, or at least most of the bases covered. Someone asked here, Vivian asked Dave, the title of the book that you mentioned, you're talking about the Enneagram. Is there a book that you use that works with it, or is there some other way to get to the Enneagram information? Dave?
There's actually, sorry about that, Barbara, I had my phone on mute. There's actually a website for that, and I don't have it at my fingertips, but I'll definitely get it up and into the chat room before the end of the call here.
Okay.
And there's books too, but I started with the website. It basically does a quick kind of walkthrough, and you do a little multiple choice questionnaire, and it kind of gives you some reading to do from there. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular tool for self-reflection, self-realization. And you usually work in partnership with somebody else to extrapolate it, right? Is it used a lot for couples processing? So maybe
and I don't want to get too much into it on the call because it's a very different different environment. But yeah, it's very, very accurate. I find just very similar to the energies of the Mayan calendar, but it's an accuracy in a way to understand, I guess, personality types and light sides and dark sides of those personality types, so you understand kind of boundaries of how people can operate. It's very interesting stuff. I'm enjoying learning a little bit about it.
Great. So one of the last questions is, your destiny is Akpu in your Mayan cross, Sun, the blowgun hunter. How do you relate to that? And do you feel that you're aware now, because of the Mayan cross and all other life experiences, are you aware of your soul's purpose? Anyone?
Well, yeah, I definitely. It's hard to explain and articulate how accurate that feels to me. The overcoming negativity, I think definitely that's, goes without saying these days. There's lots and lots of reasons to be negative. But each person kind of has to find that light at the end of the tunnel that turns all the darkness into a wonderful experience and a journey. And so I think that, for me personally, one of the major defining parts of my life was moving out of the corporate world and into kind of self-employment, doing search engine optimization. And that the way I understand that is that I can help 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 people at a time if I'm doing it on my own time, rather than helping one corporate entity if I'm doing it on their time. And so, for me, as I go through and look for, ways that I'm going to continue to live that extroverted energy that's really positive, that overcomes negativity, that I would consider kind of more of a sacred warrior kind of a position, standing in a position of strength would be kind of self-employment, using the internet and helping to empower as many other people as possible with my skill set and my trade.
Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty big community.
Yeah.
According to, a lot of the sages like Carlos and Kenneth Johnson and people like that, this day sign is, and the goal or the purpose of this energy is often manifested as either a daykeeper or a ceremonial leader or both, an Aki or a Kamalbe, which is the community guide or the counselors for the community. So
makes sense.
It's really nice to have this kind of awareness embedded into professions that are not necessarily thought to be spiritual professions. Right?
Absolutely.
Like not everybody has to be an overt spiritual guide, but to bring their spiritual experiences and awareness into their work is really one of the greatest gifts that you can offer. How about you, Dave? How do you feel about soul's purpose? You kind of talked about it, but can you sum it up for us?
Well, yeah, I feel that for me it's very much at the forefront because I've gone through a major transformation and shift, and I've kind of touched on that on the call. But I, similar to Jeff, left, the corporate world. I worked in oil and gas for 10 years. It got to a point where I could no longer delude myself and go to work every day because it was in such major conflict with my personal belief system. And I've found through, a lot of meditation and focus, and even last night, Barbara, with your instructions of set your intention before you go to sleep, that I may not be able to put a pinpoint on what exactly my life's purpose is yet, but I know I'm definitely on track to I guess get myself there. I feel like I'm in exactly the right spot. I've made major changes to my life and the way that I manifest wealth and what my definition of wealth is. It's no longer a bunch of money floating around. It's the ability to go down to the beach and sit there all day if I want, or to play music if I want to play music, or go for a walk, or work, so just having that freedom to me is the wealth. And I gave up the societal version of that to chase something that I really didn't know what I was chasing, but it's definitely the right thing for me to chase. And I'm looking forward to stepping into my dharma, and have definitely got some new projects that I'm very excited about that have really got me fired up, that are perfectly in sync with my core belief systems and what I'm doing. And so I'm excited for the next phase of my journey.
Yay. I had this thought about including a segment of the program today to discuss, to do a check-in on the new era energies. We're 6 months into the new era from December 21st, 2012. And I had that idea before I really thought about how that would have affected you two. So can you speak to how you perceive what's been going on with the new era energies, just kind of in a general sense, and then also how you think that may have played into you personally?
Okay. For me, I find that for me, December 21st was basically a giant kind of alarm clock for the planet, is how I like to liken it. Whether you wanted to wake up or whether you stayed awake are a different story, but for a brief moment there, everybody was awake and paying attention and seeing the world for what it was. And for a lot of people, that's continued, and that's fantastic. But I really feel that since that time, like I know, being aware of the energies before December 21st, the charge that the world got at that point to actually wake them up was pretty amazing. And for those of us that have continued to work with the calendar after that, because, I mean, there was a lot of looky-loos that just came to see what was going on with December 21st, too. But working with the energies after that, I definitely find that they're more streamlined and less chaotic right now, so that they're a little easier to flow with and less dramatic, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Jeff?
Yeah, I David said it really, really well. I personally, I might have my own biases, but I think that a lot of the ideas that people talk about for the new era and stuff will be kind of realized through the internet. I think that the old era, which seems to be more patriarchal and have structures that are very rigid and domineering, gets stopped dead in their tracks, or at least more nefarious aspects of it kind of gets exposed and stopped dead in its tracks by the internet. I also think that the internet offers abundance and freedom in a lot of regards, because it's infinite. The domain name system, for example, you can literally just tack on some more letters, and it's literally totally infinite. And if that was your real estate or your storefronts, to have that aspect to it provides for an opportunity that might not be commonly seen, but it's there, and it'll play itself out over time. And, that's what we're talking about here. How are times now, and how are they changing? And so that's kind of how I see things, and, I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep reflecting on, just about everything newsworthy, and I don't watch television at all, but, what I pick up through other electronic media. And, the whole idea of things like Snowden and Assange and Wendy Davis and Occupy and, a lot of the other movements that have, the Red Road and Idle No More and all of these that have kind of taken the idea of the shift of the shift of the ages to the next level. And there's a sense that I get from it that is that people feel more secure telling it like it is. Ripping off the veil and saying, this is what's really going on. This is truth. And they feel more secure, and they have more backing. And there's this overlying sense, I think, as of perhaps December 21st or thereabouts, that all levels of consciousness, even people that aren't on a spiritual path or that are on a very religious, fundamental path or whatever path, at some cellular level or greater, they know that we're all connected. So this whole idea of oneness consciousness has taken seed, and it's germinating. And that's why, some of these newsworthy events that have happened, the Girl Rising promotion that happened, I think it was in February or March, after the news of the rapes of the women in India, and the women all over the world did the Girl Rising dance, sent in YouTubes, did live streams from everywhere, villages, malls. I don't even remember how many thousands of groups of women, young women, did this thing all to promote the solidarity of women's rights in the world. So I'm feeling, like you guys were saying, really, really positive about the notion that, this has taken seed, and we're seeing a lot of effects of that. Some of them, aren't that positive. Some of them can be construed as pretty negative, but it's up to us as the way showers and the people that want to walk in the light to keep that light shining on even those darkest parts. That's our spiritual responsibility. And
That was beautifully put, Barbara.
Yeah, very well said.
anybody else on the call or in the chat that wants to weigh in on this idea, this what's happened or what is happening since December 21st?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from somebody on the call. That would be fantastic.
Here, guest 10 says, I believe that people are being honest with themselves more since the shift. And I would applaud that. I feel, and some of that may not be that pretty, right? I mean, we're looking at our ugliest parts.
Usually
but
not.
part of them nonetheless, and we're going to make them beautiful just by looking at them. Starts that process. How about this? Let's see. I Am Awesome is on the line. Vivian, I don't know who Southeast Indiana is, but anybody else want
to? Can you hear me? This is Randall Ball.
Randall, welcome. We can hear you.
Randall. What's
Hi,
that?
Randall.
Hey, Randall.
We can hear you.
Hey, Mary Meyer texted me and about this call, so this is the first time. This is great.
Oh, welcome.
Glad you like
Welcome.
it.
I've loved it. I've been on, Mary, for 20 minutes maybe? I don't know, something like that. I just wanted to say that what I'm hearing is resonating with me very powerfully as taking our spiritual practice, so to speak, our orientation in that domain into the real world and frankly into politics is what to me is really important. I'd love to hear you when you mentioned Snowden. I think I'm so inspired by him. What a hero. And I've been frustrated over the years because of the lack of that, and now I'm seeing people waking up to the importance of applying the big hour of what I'm talking about, the energy on this phone call, into the concrete world of how we manage ourselves, which is government.
Mm-hmm.
And that even though the function, the way government is operating right now is way less than to be desired, the design, as opposed to the implementation, the design of our system is inspired and remarkable. And we need to use it. So anyway, that's what I had to say. That's what I'm kind of feeling in the call.
Those are, I think those are all. That was very well said, Randall. And I think that it actually, if you look at the last 100 years or so, our system has some of the more negative aspects have come up because I think of a lack of communication and a lack of diversity of ideas and a lack of that flow. And the internet has broken those doors down and smashed it wide open and allowed for cheap or free publishing for anybody. And so all the ideas are allowed to flow. And now really those Edward Snowdens and other truth tellers can start to stand up and stretch their legs and really become empowered and then thus empower others. And it just basically starts to cascade, I think, from one or two people breaking out of it.
If you get a chance, look at the footage that, or the YouTube that the HuffPost put together on the filibuster that Wendy Davis did down in the Texas.
There's another
Congress.
hero. Big time.
That is wild as can be. I mean, what ended up happening is the gallery was filled with men and women that out-shrieked the conservatives that were trying to vote to set abortion rights back, another 50 years. And they used the system as well as their own empowerment and inserted themselves into that system to manipulate it in a way that brought out the truth. That it was really wild to see that happen, and it brought tears to my eyes just to see how many people got wind of it through Twitter, got wind of it through other electronic means, showed up, used their voices to drown out what they knew was not right.
I agree. That was so inspirational, and she's the one. I mean, that really was the crowd that carried it through, because she had been stopped at the last minute, But
right.
The crowd carried it over. It was awesome.
Somebody asked who she is, and it's Wendy Davis, who is a senator from Texas, that decided to filibuster this vote that was on the floor that was intended to set abortion rights, to put restrictions on abortion rights that would have moved things back prior to Roe v. Wade, for that matter. And this to me exemplifies one of those most important aspects, I think, of the new era energies that all the elders talk about a lot, and that is that we're in this age of the divine feminine, where femininity, the softer, more nourishing, more honest and truthful energies are eventually going to probably not overpower, but blend into balance with the positive aspects of masculinity. So and we're at the very, again, germinating stage of that energy, and it's just fun to watch it. The more you notice it, the more you build that consciousness into the collective consciousness. So, very exciting. Very exciting. Anybody else? Thanks for offering that to us. That was great. I'm reminded of Ian Lunghold again talking about Enron, which was one of that kind of ushered in this age of whistleblowing. Yeah. That was a long time ago, it seems, but now we're doing it with even more efficacy. Well, we're running a little bit over. Unless we have another comment about the new era energies, which we welcome. We still have time to welcome another idea, another thought.
Can I speak?
Yes. Who is this?
This is Randall again.
Okay, Randy.
There is, by the way, I'm have decided 3 days ago I'm running for U.S. Congress, but I was inspired by someone else who really is paved the way. And the website will give everybody information. It's www.world5.org.
World 5, like the number?
Yes, we're WORLD5.org. His name is Jim Pruse, and he's written a book by that title. He wrote it and published it a couple of years ago, and about 2 months ago he stepped into running for Congress here in Cincinnati to implement it. And so the book has become his platform. And the metaphor of his book is the book is actually called World 5.0. He's used the metaphor of computer language, operating systems 01, 02, 03, 04, and
right.
That using the new age or the Aquarian age or this new energy or whatever in computer language, he's calling it World 5.0. And that we're currently in World 4.0, and it's time to reboot and reprogram.
New operating system. New infrastructure. Do you know that one, Jeff?
Yeah, I definitely, that resonates a lot with me. It brought up, it made me think in an ancient context of either the Hopi or another prophecy about the fifth world, or the potential for a fifth world. And I think there's debate in that idea of, are we in the fourth or are we in the fifth? Or no one really knows, but maybe this guy's got his own take on it, and maybe that's where he's coming when he calls it World 5.0.
Well, Ego offers that we're talking about the fifth sun here. Do you think that's where the 5.0 came from?
That's what I was thinking, was that
exactly.
5.0 was the fifth sun from the Mayans' perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But that would resonate with a lot
the Maya
of people.
And many other indigenous, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the core point to me is he's put it into language that a whole other world can hear using computer language.
Mm-hmm.
By instead of saying the fifth sun or using the Hopi language, he's using American current language.
Don't speak.
Yeah.
Well, not just American either, but techies all over the world can relate to that.
Right.
Exactly, and that's why it's called World 5.0.
Yeah, new common language. Everybody can understand, or a lot of people.
Well, it's only when you have a shared format, like a common language, that you can really accelerate in any type of progress, because your communication is then structured and standardized. And so, in my literal work in search engine optimization, that becomes really huge. Which platform and standards you choose has a huge impact on even the ability to do certain things in the future. Or not be able to do them.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to mobilize if you're all speaking the same language. Reflect on the Maya in Guatemala, where they have 27 different languages, and then they have Spanish, and a lot of them don't speak Spanish. It's been one of the biggest challenges they face, is how can you mobilize politically, or how can you mobilize around ideas that are you have difficulty communicating to people that really are your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That is really wonderful. We'll have to check in on that and see how that adds to the discussion. Well, let's take a moment. Let's go back into center, and let's do the count. We'll count from 1 to 13. And before we do that, take a moment in your center to set intentions for this next 13-day cycle, using this beautiful energy of road, the sacred path, the Sakpe, so that we're illumined and guided to the extent that others that are still fumbling or lost or in the dark may find some kind of a beacon, some kind of an idea, some kind of an action or a way of being that they can resonate with to take them onto their path. As the road is the energy of the way showers. And any other aspects of the road that we talked about today, take a second to check in with your ancestors, check into your heart, and see what you want to manifest with this energy. For over the 13 days, and incorporating the energies of the previous Trecenas and the previous days, and feel now the energy of all 260 aspects of the Mayan sacred calendar, the sacred Cholki. and feel how much bigger you become. Feel your energy field get brighter. And we'll use English this morning to make the count. So all we do to amplify this and speak clearly and loudly to the Nawal of road, or is just simply count. I'll start. Jeff and Dave, you probably know this one. And everybody else can chime in. The louder you are, the more enthused and emphatic you are, the more likely it is that road will sit up and take notice. So, 1 road.
1 road.
1 road.
2 road.
1 road.
2 road.
3 road.
3 road.
3 road.
4 road. All together.
4 road.
5
road.
5
6
road.
road.
6
7
road. 7 road.
7 road.
8 road.
8 road.
8 road.
9 road.
9 road.
9 road.
10 road.
10
11
road.
road. 12
11
road.
12 road.
13 road.
13 road.
And now feel how big you may be. Thank you all. Thank you all for your attention and your warmth and for being on this path with us. Just a couple of quick announcements. We have another call. The next telewebcast is on July 14th, and it's for the Nawal Serpent Con. And I am looking for serpents who want to participate. So if you or anybody you know is a serpent that would like to share what their experience of that energy is, the only ones I know of are like George Bush and Angelina Jolie and Clint Eastwood, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get them on the call, nor do I have the time and energy to try to get them on the call. But if you know of anybody, or if you yourself would like to do this, spread the word, and we'll have some serpents join us. And other than that, you may want to check the Mayan Cross events page, because Shuni and Tata Pedro are touring Europe, and they'll be back over in the U.S. in September. And if you have an opportunity, maybe in a country near you, to participate in the Mayan sacred fire ceremonies and gatherings, by all means do so. And in lieu of that, we're doing our best to create that kind of awareness and attention through our telewebcasts. And join us again, and tell your friends to listen or watch the YouTube that will be coming out shortly. And if you haven't already, like us on Facebook, the Mayan Cross Facebook page. That's where all this information goes as well. So Jeff and Dave, thank you for doing such a phenomenal job sharing what's in your heart with us, what's been in your lives with us. And so pleased and honored that you could do that.
You're so welcome. I'm honored as well, and thank you for bringing the community together like this, Barbara. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, BJ, you're really, these things are great, and they're getting better and better. So thank you.
Thank you very much for being a part of it all, and everybody else on the call. Now we'll say we learned some new words the other day. We learned Matyosh, which is thank you in Mayan. So you can say that to everybody. And then we also learned what fare thee well is. It is Chenek Cheek. Chenek Cheek is till we meet again.
Chenek Cheek.
Chenek Cheek. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Trecena. Talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Love you too. Bye.